While Washington prepares for tomorrow's inauguration ceremonies, Americans are looking further ahead, and actually they have rather mixed emotions. Take a look at this. The Wall Street Journal poll shows a mixed bag as far as how optimistic Americans are about the president's second term. Look at those numbers. Let's bring in our political insiders to talk about it. John LeBoutillier, former Republican congressman for New York. Doug Schoen, he is a Fox News contributor and a former pollster for Bill Clinton. Our third insider, Pat Caddell, under the weather today. We wish him well. All right. Doug, you know, people, I think it's fair to say, are more skeptical today than 4 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Greg, 4 years ago, there was a universal sense of enthusiasm, optimism, and hope about the election of our first African-American president, who ran on a theme of being different, uniting the country, and changing politics in Washington. Today, we're more polarized. As the poll you put up suggests, we're more pessimistic, and people basically have less hope for the future. They're more cynical about what's happening, and the president himself, and I know we'll get into this, is being more partisan in his approach.
Let me put up two Rasmussen polls, John, before I go to you, because it really underscores the question I'll pose, and that is this. Take a look at this. 63% of GOP voters disapprove of the GOP in Congress. Now, juxtapose a Rasmussen poll, the Democratic voters, and how they believe Democrats in Congress are doing, get pretty good marks. Really the polar opposite here. Is the Republican Party in crisis?
Oh, they're in total crisis. We've known that all last year during the campaign. Let me go first, though, to the president and those numbers you put up. You rule the way you run for office. If you run a campaign on substance and you win, you've got the mandate to enact that substance. Right. The president ran a campaign of negativity towards Romney.
Demonizing Romney.
And the Republicans. And he had one position that he hammered in every speech, was going to raise taxes on the rich, which he's already done since the election. Tell me, please, for the next 4 years, what is this presidency all about? Is it like the campaign, a Seinfeld campaign, a campaign about nothing, so his second term will be a term about nothing? Or is he going to just sort of make up a new agenda? We've got guns, we've got immigration, things that were not in the campaign.
I mean, he won the whole fiscal cliff argument by demonizing Republicans, by saying they're protecting the rich.
And, Greg, I think that's where we're heading. Rather than being not a red America, blue America, United States of America, this is, I'm right, we need fairness, and the Republicans are demonizing America. I think it's a plan really to try to do what John was describing, which is to finish the GOP and win the 2014 election.
And the GOP is helping him do it by their own lack of substantive ideas. They've been negative, too, you know. They've been Mitch McConnell saying,
very polarizing,
saying, all I want to do for the entire first term is do everything I can to make Obama a one-term president. Now, that may be, in private, a good thing to say. But for the Senate minority leader to say it, it polarizes
everybody. After having lost the fiscal cliff argument to the president, Republicans are now caving in on the debt ceiling. And they're now a short-term agreement for 2 or 3 months so that we can do a grand plan. If they couldn't do a grand plan a year and a half ago, they're not going to do a grand plan now, are they?
That's exactly my point. They lost on taxes. They're folding on the debt ceiling. They're hoping that the timing will be a little bit better to deal with the sequestration with the debt ceiling. But that's just a cosmetic issue. John is right, Greg, and I think your premise of your question is exactly right. This is a party that's lost its way, lost its vision, lost its approach, and the president is trying to take them out.
And look at the Greenberg polls. Let's put these up here. The president's approval rating is at 53%, negative 38%. And I'll note parenthetically, by the way, that is almost the lowest of any second-term president in 6 decades. I mean, Nixon did better than that. However, look at the House Republicans. My Lord, their disapproval rating is 73%, John.
Yeah, well, they've been perceived as negative, as out of touch. The positions they stand up for are not popular in the country.
Gay rights, tax rights, et cetera?
Yeah, and they fit into this demonization that they're only interested in protecting the rights of the rich, not the middle class.
They don't have a pro-growth agenda, create jobs, low tax. They don't have a message,
6 in 10 of respondents said the Republican Party out of touch on issues of gay rights and tax issues. 5 in 10 said the party is missing the mark on Wall Street regs, climate change, poor, immigration, women's issues.
Right. There is a populist center-right agenda that a solid majority of the American people buy into. But bottom line, this Republican Party that John served in the House representing, it doesn't represent that. They've become, as John said, the party of negativity.
Here's the other issue that's been going on this week, especially in the wake of the Newtown massacre. Let's take a look at the Washington Post ABC News polls on some of the things that the president is championing now, including a nationwide ban on the sale of assault weapons. Look at the support for that and the negativity well below. And the next one, a new federal database track of all gun sales in the country. Huge support for that. And finally, a law requiring background checks on anybody buying gun ammunition. Now, I'm dubious as to whether or not any of this is going to pass Congress, but the president may do it by executive fiat.
No, he can't do that. An executive order only applies to the executive branch. This is what people don't understand. He cannot tell you and me, we have to wear a red tie today. He can't tell us that. He can tell people in the executive branch they have to wear it.
But he can demonize the Republicans, and he's going to say that the Republicans are retarding progress that 2/3 or more of the American people want on meaningful gun violence prevention legislation, further hurting the Republicans, further driving his polarization and his agenda.
But let's face it, there are a lot of Democrats, too, in the Senate especially, who will not go along with a lot of
but
these things.
But the American people
They're ahead of
want
the
meaningful
politics.
steps. We're not getting them.
Got more to talk about with our political insiders. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The collapse of popular heroes. Is this just symptomatic of a larger issue permeating our society? All right, Lance Armstrong. Watched him twice on Oprah this week. He appeared to be a guy who is not sorry that he doped, only sorry that he got caught doping. But the list goes on and on. There's Lance Armstrong. He may end up behind bars for drug trafficking, money laundering, and so forth. I think he's beat the statute of limitations on perjury. But he is symptomatic of a growing problem.
Right. We see this problem in our society, Greg, and in our politics. Put simply, we can't and don't trust our leaders for very good reasons. They have betrayed the public trust. We have politician after politician who breaks the law, betrays the public trust. We have sports heroes, celebrities, all violating their essence of being honest, truthful, and caring. And it's led people to be more cynical and more pessimistic, as the opening of this segment suggested.
The other names, John, that come to mind, Joe Paterno, what a tremendous rise and precipitous fall. Manti Te'o this week, what an absurd hoax in his explanation. Well, he admits that he perpetuated the lie to some extent as well. There's Manti Te'o, and apparently he's going to be doing an interview with Katie Couric to try to explain himself.
Well, that'll really get to the bottom of things.
Good luck with that one. Tiger Woods, that was really disappointing. But you know what? We were watching, all of us were watching the Hall of Fame elections in baseball. Clemens, Bonds, McGuire, Sosa didn't even come close.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they didn't. And the old Hall of Famers, like Frank Robinson, had all said, if any of these guys who cheated, if they get in the Hall of Fame, we're not coming back to the Hall of Fame anymore. So they're indignant. Now, our segment's political insiders. And I think Doug would agree with me that what we're talking about with these athletes, they're breaking the law, they're lying, they're trying to dupe the American public. What ticks us off about politicians in both parties is they have the same disdain for the American people, but they're intellectually corrupt. It's a big lie to say to the American people, we're going to cut spending and we'll balance the budget, when they have no intention of doing so.
I think it's even more than that. We all know what the problems are. We know that we've got the debt, the deficit, unemployment, economic growth, and we're not having, John, an intelligent debate about solving those. I don't think we're going to hear the president talk intelligently about them tomorrow, much as I hope I'm wrong.
Do you think politicians think the Americans are just too stupid to understand or believe the truth?
Yes,
no,
in both parties they do.
I would.
And both parties have gone to prison. Rostenkowski went to prison for a very long time. Duke Cunningham, I think he's still in prison. You know, Democrat and Republican both. Richard Nixon likely would have gone to prison for obstruction of justice. I recently reread the transcript of the smoking gun tape. He's obstructing justice and paying off the burglars, but for a pardon.
But, you know, I respectfully disagree with John, and I would say the American people are disappointed because they expect more and they know they can get more for their leaders. There have been presidents, there have been senators who've risen above, and what we're not seeing now is people who put the people's business ahead of their political interests. Partisanship is standing in the way of solving problems, which is why we've talked about
I give you the perfect example, which we've talked about ad nauseum on this segment, which is the Simpson-Bowles Debt Reduction Commission. Both Republicans and Democrats participated. A good plan.
Right.
Ignored by the establishment.
Both parties ignored it, John.
Totally.
Yeah.
Both of them. The president appointed them, and he won't even talk about it. And some of the Republicans who sponsored it, they don't want to talk about it. And yet it is the one route to solving some of the main
and we're
problems.
just not getting a real debate about real issues and real problems.
Gotta go. It's sort of a sad situation in America.
Absolutely.
And young people that look up to sports heroes and politicians are
Why should young people get involved when they see what's going on, Greg?
All right. John and Doug, thank you both. You can catch more of the Political Insiders back here next Sunday. Hopefully Pat will be well enough to join us. Also follow them on Twitter at FN Insiders. Back in a flash.